Yesterday was the 31st of August, and apparently every year for the past 2 decades, the world has been marking African Traditional Medicine Day. Did you know that, Ndu?
That there was African Traditional Medicine, or that there was an African Traditional Medicine Day? I didn't know there was a day.
Yeah?
I did not know there was a day.
And why do we call it African Traditional Medicine?
Because we Africans traditionally created the medicine.
Is there any part of the world that they don't have their own traditional medicine?
As for why should they not call it European traditional
Why
medicine?
African? Why not call it community?
Okay.
Sisi
You're
wa
right.
Masai tuko na dawa. Tunajua dawa.
Ya kuosha tumbo.
Tuko na dawa ya kuosha tumbo. Hilo unataka. So those are the ones. To honor the integral role of the traditional medicine in the health and welfare of generations of the people. Okay. So for that reason, we want to have a traditional medicine conversation to close out this Health Friday conversations. We are joined by Harriet Chebet Ngok. She is the CEO and founder of
Harriet's Botanicals.
Can you imagine how creative that is,
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
This Botanicals company, Harriet's Botanicals. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana. That's a hot seat in the
Asante.
situation room.
Thank you.
I see you've come with many chupas.
Yes, I have.
Ero nauza dawa.
Si hata siuzi, nimekuletea tu ujaribu wewe
Iko
mwenyewe.
dawa ya tumbo na dawa ya...
Sasa zote ziko, even though we call them something different.
Okay.
I know the Masai say dawa ya kuosha damu, dawa ya kuosha tumbo. So us, what we've done is we've formalized this whole thing, and now we'll say reproductive and digestive health for women.
Right.
You know, dawa ya kuosha uterus, those kind of things.
We? Dawa ya kuosha uterus.
Yes. Well,
Okay,
you know,
no, we'll talk about it. Let me first of all give you the day's African proverb. African traditional proverb. This proverb is from South Africa, and the proverb for today is: dawn doesn't come twice to wake a person up. Dawn doesn't come twice to wake a person up. What's your interpretation of this, Harriet?
make hay while the sun shines.
All right, straight up, huh?
Yes,
That's what they meant.
absolutely.
It comes once, go with
it.
it.
Absolutely.
Safi. When the gun goes off, go.
Go.
Don't let it start to say,
Has it gone? What?
sijafanya on
What
your
did
marks.
that mean?
Go. All right. Introduce us to Harriet Botanicals.
So Harriet's Botanicals is a company that retails traditional indigenous medicine for the African urban and diaspora market. So we source our feedstock. When I say feedstock, I mean we source our bark, our roots, our leaves, or our trees, or our plants, bushes from the Southern Rift Valley. We work with the Maasai, the Ogiek, and the Kipsigis community. The Kipsigis are traditionally known to have like an ancient secret for reproductive health, specifically fertility. So Sigis means to give birth. So this is like their thing. And the Maasai have it as well. And now we have 14 shops in Kenya. In Nairobi, we're in Sarit Center, we're in Business Bay Square Mall, we're in Waterfront in Karen, and the CBD, which is actually our busiest shop. Then, of course, we're in Nakuru, Kericho, Kisumu, Mombasa, Eldoret. So what we have really tried to do is just make sure that you can get your product wherever you are. So Eldoret, for instance, will even serve Lodwar. And places like Kisumu, for instance, will also serve Busia. And we also sell in Uganda, we sell in Namibia, we sell in Senegal, we sell in Ghana, we sell in Nigeria, we sell in South Africa. We have a big following in the US and also in Australia, strangely enough. In Europe, we sell mostly in the UK and in Germany.
Okay.
Big operation.
Yes.
All these roots, herbs, barks, and everything sourced from...
Natural, 100% indigenous medicine.
Why do you call it medicine?
So it is medicine in the sense that traditional medicine has always been put as the alternative. So what happened a long time ago when the colonialists were here, we had something called the Witchcraft Act of 1959, where traditional healers were pushed into the realm of sort of like wachawi, witches. And they were marginalized. And at some point, I think the preference was that you go for the Western allopathic medication. So as it is coming back, this is always underground. 80% of Kenyans use traditional medicine, and this is actually documented. Not only Kenyans, but in Africa, traditional medicine is the first point of care for many people. So it's been called this. I believe it is medicine because it has medicinal properties. It is antiviral, anti-inflammatory. it's antibacterial. It has all these properties that and things that it does, especially our main product called Arorwet, which has 8 trees in it. So when you actually go and do the research, when you find out the trees in English, these are being used as medicines in allopathic medicine.
So they're what constitute the things that we take.
Absolutely, the bioactive components.
Does the law in Kenya recognize this traditional medicine?
Yes, it does, and it sits under the Ministry of Culture. So it doesn't sit under the Ministry of Health. We are pushing for it to also sit under the Ministry of Health. So I think the way that the government chose to regulate this was under culture, because a lot of it is undocumented, a lot of it is not really standardized, not formalized. There's 22,000 traditional medicine practitioners who are registered. I am one of them. I had to actually go through the process, take my products to University of Nairobi Pharmacology and Pharmacognosy Department, have them tested, get a letter, take it back to the Ministry of Culture, and I am a cultural herbalist, which is a certificate I renew every single year.
Okay.
This was the process I had to go through for me to advertise widely on social media. Before that, you can sell to friends and to family, but you cannot advertise.
You can only sell it chini ya maji.
Exactly.
Okay. Does the Pharmacy and Poisons Board recognize you?
So the Pharmacy and Poisons Board have a section for traditional medicine that they are actually developing, and they call them supplements. So there's a process that you need to go through before you become certified under them, and they would prefer actually that you stay aside and be alternative as they deal with what they consider the real pharmaceuticals, mainstream. And we are in a process of also asking for the government to mainstream traditional medicine, to put out like the regulations and say, these are the 10 things that you need to do. And it is expensive. As an example, within Pharmacy and Poisons Board, to take any of these products through clinical research, you're looking at something like a minimum of $100 million. So because a lot of practitioners cannot afford that, they then stay marginalized or on the side. But the government does allow you to practice within those constraints.
But they know essentially, like let's take the Poisons Board, right, for example.
Yes.
They know who you are, what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And that because of that, they're going to say, well, okay, well, we've seen that Harriet, for example, has come to us and we've been able to look at her product and we don't have any qualms with her then having people ingest.
Absolutely.
We're not going to put out an advisory tomorrow that says, well, if you see a bottle of this from Harriet, that you might want to be careful and not.
Absolutely.
Because you've gone through the process.
Absolutely.
All right.
No, what I'm hearing is something different. No, they haven't subjected you to any process.
They haven't.
The Pharmacy and Poisons Board.
Yes.
So basically, they are blind to your existence
No.
legally.
They acknowledge our existence legally. They just say we don't fall under Pharmacy and Poisons Board.
So tomorrow they could wake up and say, if people started complaining about one of your products, Pharmacy and Poisons Board can actually wash their hands off you.
Well, yes, or they can choose to come and take our products and test them.
Okay.
As well. And they can then have to go and talk to University of Nairobi Pharmacology and Pharmacognosy. They have to talk to the Ministry of Culture. They have to talk to all the different bodies that regulate us. And then they have to agree that this product is not fit for use and take it off the shelf. Absolutely.
Why did you go this way, traditional medicine? Because you talk about one product, for example, having the bark leaves and all of this of 8 different trees.
Yes.
For example, why did you choose to go traditional? Why does anybody choose to go traditional?
So we are the last point of call, actually. A lot of our customers have been to gynas. They've had surgery, multiple surgeries. They've been on painkillers. They've even gone to mitishamba all over the place. We are like the people they come to last. Even with failed IVF, people say, okay, I've had 4 rounds of IVF. I am done. I'm just going to try this. Others simply cannot afford even to see a gynecologist. They're deep in shags or deep in the bundus, and they say, well, 1,500, I can afford that. I can't afford an ultrasound of 3,000, but for 1,500, I will save 500 bob for 3 months and I'll get this product. So for myself, I mean, my story is kind of well known. I've been speaking to the press for a while. I was an investment banker in London, actually, working for Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. I am trained as a legal and finance investment consultant. And what happened is I had a condition called endometriosis. So endometriosis is a condition where you bleed into your organs as opposed to bleeding out. So when you're on your period, it's extremely painful. It also causes primary and secondary infertility because your womb is crowded with these endo things that you actually cannot carry to term, or you cannot conceive. The sperm cannot get to the egg.
Okay.
So for me, I was diagnosed for like 17 years. I struggled and struggled and struggled. I've been on painkillers. And I was living in England, and I was working for a good bank. So I had all the healthcare available. I could go to any hospital. You know, my employer would pay. But I just struggled and struggled. And usually for 1 week in that month, my life was simply horrific. And this had been going on from when I was 16. So what happened is during my father's funeral in 2017, I had my period that day. So the funeral was late because I couldn't come out of the room. I couldn't come out of the house.
Wow.
So when I finally came out, I was walking in such a way, it was pretty obvious something was off. And this lady approached me and said, "Oh, you know, we have understood your problem. Kesho tunakuletea dawa." That is how this thing happened, right? She didn't ask me a single question.
She looked at you and was
she just looked, "Kesho tunakuletea dawa." So I was like bemused, no problem. The next day now she came with my auntie and brought this concoction of like herbs, you know, like bark. Show me chemsha, kunywa like this, and give us some feedback. And I'm telling you, for the first time in my life, I experienced a painless period. No pain.
Harriet,
Yeah.
what is your first reaction when they came with these things?
When you saw the herbs.
I've tried everything. So I was like amused. I was more like, oh, yeah, of course. Let's try this. Yes, because I've tried everything. I've been on all the painkillers over the counter and the other ones that are prescribed. You know, there are painkillers where there are women who, on the first day of their period, they are carried out of home, taken to a hospital, given a shot.
So
and that is the only way they can function. So I was one of those women. So really, there's nothing I hadn't tried. Prior to that, somebody had brought me medicine from Marakwet. We had another one. We used to call it Webuye because it came from that part of the world. Somebody from Kakamega Forest had brought me medicine. I tried all these things in the house casually, right? In England, I tried Ayurveda. I tried essential oils. I tried flower essences. I tried acupuncture. I tried Reiki. So I already had I have a very broad knowledge of anything to do with period pain. I'm on it. If you tell me do castor oil packs, I know exactly what you're talking about. If you tell me do, the yoni steam, I'm on it. I know it. So for me, this was really shocking. So I came back because I thought I want to keep experiencing this painless period. What is this about? Right? And so I came back, I took some, and then I met my friend, my best friend actually, and she was on her way to a hysterectomy because she had been bleeding for 21 days, bleeding like Uji. And she said, I'm so fed up of this thing. And her sister, both of them had hysterectomies. So she said, next week the doctor has said he's taking this thing out. He's just going to take it out. I don't care anymore. I told her, very casually, I said, just try this thing and see. And that was it. That was how my business started, because she told everybody in the WhatsApp group, and I'm telling you, I started selling dawa, wow. And that particular month, I made 100,000. Just that 1 month from my WhatsApp group. And I was like, oh, okay, something's going on here.
And your source was this woman?
Okay.
Yes, my source was just the same kind of go and just get this group of herbs together. Then the demand, my goodness. At that time, I was still doing my work, finance consulting. I was like, this is just like a hobby.
Yeah.
This is something people pass by to pick up. And then the demand got so big, we started now going to buy more, changing the formulation, because what happens is you can't just take somebody's formulation and make it yours. You have to improve on it. So then you can say, this is my formulation. So we started doing that and started saying, what else do we need to do? And in that same group, the lady said to me, how can you give me medicine, but don't give my husband? How do you know it's me? There must be medicine for men. And that is how my second product was born.
So, how did you know that it was this particular concoction that then was going to work? And how did you know that it was this combination that was then delivering this result? It's not under a microscope. It's not people doing Hamzat suits and checking whatever is going on, hazmat suits and checking whatever is going on. It's that somebody gave you a concoction, it worked for you. And so now you take this concoction and then you now say, let's, mass produce it and sell it to others. How do you know?
I didn't know. I mean, every single day I get testimonials and I get surprised. I'm still surprised. Like, what? It did that? I didn't know. I was just giving it, you try. But people just kept, oh, it worked for me for this. Oh, I had an ovarian cyst, it has shrunk. Oh, you know what? I've had, there was a lady who'd had 5 miscarriages over 5 years. And the last child she had was an arrowroot baby. She got her son. These are people telling me things. I didn't even know it would treat that. I didn't know there was anything called blocked fallopian tubes. I learned from my clients.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just knew period pain.
Right.
And fibroids. I didn't know something called polycystic ovarian syndrome. I learned about this through my own clients.
Have any doctors, because for women who suffer endometriosis, for those who suffer PCOS, painful periods and all of this, there's a doctor on call all the time.
Yeah.
Have any doctors spoken to you and asked you, okay, so what's this? Because I had a patient who was seeing me every month because of 1, 2, 3, and now she's taking this thing and doesn't anymore.
Yes.
Have they had conversations with you?
Actually, there's even one doctor who, I'll give you the background. So I work with a doctor called Dr. Maladina Ali, and he's at Nairobi Hospital. And it was very strange because my auntie visited him, age 55. And she was at our house and she took arrowroot and her period came back. So she went to the doctor and he said, what have you done? What did you take? And he said, I took this product called arrowroot. And then the doctor said, I want to meet that lady. I want to meet the person who gave this thing to you. And that is how my relationship with that particular doctor started. He's given us all his research. He gives arrowroot to all his patients who are struggling with this. Actually, how he uses arrowroot is that he uses it to soften and shrink the fibroids so that you do laparoscopic as opposed to open cut surgery. So after that, we have another doctor in Aga Khan. We have a doctor using the same thing in the hospital in Eldoret. The big one.
Moi
teaching and referral. We have a doctor at Kenyatta Hospital because I have another friend also who had 30 fibroids. And she was on her way to surgery anyway, so she picked up my product. And then she came back and said to me, the doctor said, what did you do? How come you don't have pain anymore? And she said, oh, I took arrowroot by Harriet. And the doctor said, we know that woman. She's taken all our clients. We know her. So those are the kind of conversations that are going on.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to all these doctors, give me your research. I have Dr. Ali's research. I have 30 patients, anonymous, that he'll tell me this patient came with this. I gave them letrozole and I gave them your product. I also gave them Fertilion and letrozole and your product. Okay, this one took 6. This one. So that's actually how we are progressing. And now we work with Healthy You. What happened is people started going to Healthy You and demanding our product. So Healthy You are now stocking us. And that is in Nyanyuki, in Rongai, in Thika Road Mall, Garden City Mall, in Junction, in one more Yaya Center, and also TRM, and in the Westgate, and 2 Rivers. And they've asked to stock us in Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisumu.
In other parts.
Yes, and what I've said is, I don't want you to compete with my shop. You will shut me down, surely.
But then, I want to go back into this particular day, on this unfortunate day of your father's funeral.
Yes.
When this woman came and told you, tomorrow, nagaletea dawa.
Yeah.
The following day, she came with this dawa.
Yes.
Before she came, you've said you had tried. You'd been given webuye.
Exactly.
You'd been given this other one from Marakwet.
Yes.
You'd been given others.
Yeah.
So what is it that did not work with the webuye one, which I'm sure has worked with other people?
So
the Marakwet one, I'm sure there are people who would say the Marakwet one has worked for them, but didn't work for you, and this one worked.
Yes. It's all about the formulation. It's all about the formulation, because you can be given, let's say, 10 trees, but depending on how much of, what percentage of which particular tree is in it. So maybe there's one that is, the Marakwet one, for instance, most of these medications within the Kalenjin are given for fertility. So they don't really encounter women. They don't even know the name of endometriosis. There is no such thing as endometriosis in the local language. They are not treating pain. They are treating infertility. And there's medicines, people will tell you things like, oh, nilichukua yo dawa, ya Marakwet, I vomited for 3 days. They're just saying, anaosha tumbo. That's why that is a very common term that you'll hear even with the Maasai. So those medicines are working. Maybe those people just don't have access to research. They don't have access to a certain type of education, because I sent my herbs abroad. I sent them to London. I sent them to the US, to friends who work in the pharmaceutical industry, and tell them, tell me the properties of this. Tell me what this is. How does it work? And then I will now simulate that information and create a formula that I think works. So I will increase the herb that I think, this is it. This is the one for fertility. This is the one for pain. Like there's a very famous herb called Carissa edulis. Everyone knows it. It's the Lonliondo herb. Now that's a natural painkiller. And it's grown everywhere. We call it legetetiet. The Maasais grow it. It's grown in Mount Kenya. It is grown in the coast. So that's a very well-known one. If you Google right now, you will find it. And that's free information on the internet. So that's an example of, for me, I'm treating pain, I will increase the painkiller element.
How do you know the threshold? Treat to what extent? Increase by how much? How do you know
in my formulation, I will say that the painkiller must be 30%. I am primarily treating pain. I'm not even interested in anything else. First, I want to bring my patient to zero pain, right? I am treating over bleeding. Like if you're bleeding for 21 days, you're bleeding for 3 months straight, you're really in trouble, even in terms of your own other emotional, mental, and physical well-being. So for me, I'm saying, what is causing the bleeding? The bleeding is normally low progesterone, right? So we need to balance the hormones out. A lot of my patients have high estrogen. So then we will go and look at what are the causes of increased estrogen. Why do we have so many people with high estrogen, low progesterone? That's hormonal imbalance and mainly caused by dietary and environmental factors. So then I'll say to my patients, you need to find a way to reduce your estrogen. We need to evacuate estrogen through the liver, through the gut. A lot of people who have estrogen dominance also have gut issues. They don't have a bowel movement daily. They might have a bowel movement once a week. So the week when they're supposed to be evacuating estrogen, they're all bloated. So arrowroot itself, the particular tree is for digestive health, right? So in that, I'll know we must help this person go to the toilet. We must help them remove all this urine and gas. We must purify, do like a detox, remove all the things in the body that causes pain when it's time to release, right? We must find out why this person is bleeding. What can we do? And it's been trial and error. But if we are serving something like 3,000 to 4,000 patients every single month, and we have a CRX, so we have a customer database that when a patient anybody who walks in, we know this person is on bottle number 6. This is what they have. They have large fibroids. They were recommended surgery. They don't want to go for surgery, or they've had surgery and the fibroids regrew. So we are creating this data, and then we go now to the doctors and say, tell us a little bit more. Can we collaborate on the research? What do we do in this instance? And anyway, we also tell our patients, use our product, but go to your doctor. We want you to use all the healthcare facilities available to you. If you need surgery, go for surgery. We're very friendly with the allopathic practitioners. And I believe that's how it's supposed to be, really. You do your ultrasound, you have your gyna. When you say, okay, your gyna, I'm not so happy with this, I'm going to go to Harriet's Botanicals for this and the gyna for this. You also take painkillers. If the pain is excruciating, you support with painkillers until you get to a point where there is no more pain or you're very comfortable. So we're a wellness company more than anything else, and we want these solutions to work for women, whether allopathic or traditional.
How do we know that yours work and Babu or Loliondo's don't work? Or yours work and my brother Ole Sankox doesn't work?
So Ole Sankox probably works if he had the correct dosage and the consistency. I want to believe that what's happening in the villages is working, because there are many people who are still using these products. There are many Maasai who don't even have to come to Harriet's Botanicals, and they don't walk into pharmacies. And the same with parts of the country like the Turkana, like the Gabra, the Borana, parts of Malindi where there's a lot of remote, you don't have access to a health facility. And this is why I say 80% of Africans use traditional medicine, and the government knows this. It understands that this is like a support mechanism for the other healthcare system. Now, for me, you spoke about the fact that when people come to us, right, do we perform a consultation? We do perform a consultation, and it is for free. The only thing that we are selling is the dawa. So every shop is stocked with 2 to 3 people, for instance. In addition to that, there's somebody online on Instagram, on Facebook, and on WhatsApp. Then we have region heads who can enter into that conversation at any time. I man all my platforms. I can see the conversations my girls are having. with every single client. I can see the conversation on Facebook. I can see it on Instagram. Through our CRM, I can see it on WhatsApp. There's even a phone system that I can tap into to listen to what the conversation is.
Yeah.
We have a complaints mechanism as well.
Yeah.
Now, the training that we have incorporated is if you walk into the shop, the first thing you have to be asked is, you say, oh, nataka dawa, ile awa mama, you know, nataka dawa ya, niko na hormonal. You know, usually Kenyans love shortening words. Niko na hormonal, not even hormonal, niko na hormonal. We know, what does this person mean? We ask them, have you been to a gynecologist? Yes. Alisema nini? Alisema tu ni hormonal. What type of hormonal imbalance do you have? Alisema ni ovarian cyst. Najua zina grow sana. Now we have something. Do you have something from your ultrasound? Then we look at the ultrasound and then it tells us this person has 3 fibroids in the uterus or a fundial. And this is what we use to interpret what we give them. And if your fibroids are large and we ask, daktari alisema uende kwa surgery. Yes, amesema lakini nimeogopa. Right? I tell them, take this 3 times a day. Arrow weight 45 mLs for 6 weeks. Go to the ultrasound. Bring me one that shows something is working, something is changing.
Harriet, for this girl to be able to look at an ultrasound and interpret it, she has to have undergone some training.
Some kind of training.
Yes.
Have they been to KMTC or anywhere?
Not yet. But we have had one person from KMTC come in and brief us. So we run these trainings every month, and we do work with the medical practitioners. Like I said, we work with a doctor who has come and sat with us and said, this is what you should be looking at. So that is the process we've had so far. But I do take that on point. I will engage KMTC.
Okay. Traditionally, the way the knowledge was passed.
Oh, I forgot to mention, we do have 2 people who are region heads who are nurses, who actually work for the county government.
Nurses.
Trained nurses, senior trained
registered
nurses. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Traditionally, the knowledge was passed on from one person to another, from one generation to another, and it was rigorous.
Yes.
They'd be taken through the forest. You're shown this tree, this is poison, this tree, this part is medicinal, this can do this and the other. All right? So there was knowledge transfer. I have not heard you mention anything apart from the first time when you met this woman and she gave you this.
Okay.
I haven't heard you mention you engaged, you learned, you went through the forest, you understood the trees, the roots, the barks.
Okay. So this business has been we've been in business for 5 years officially. So when this lady came the next day, she came with my auntie. And my auntie is part of the group in the forest who actually source for the products. Now, this thing is passed on because her uncle, my grandfather's brother, was a big traditional healer. So what they then say, when I went back for community engagement, there's 40 women that I was working with who were collecting these for me. And they said to me, okay, what have you been doing? And I told them, I've been in Nairobi, and there are women coming to me for this, and the other. And they asked me, have you healed any? This old woman, like 80 years, said, na ulimtibu? I said, yes. Nini litendeka alipata twins. She told me, asante, uko na mkono. Right? The minute uko na mkono, you're allowed to harvest traditional medicine. Not everybody is allowed. Right? And they will now confirm that this is the family and there was this other person in the family. It is not passed down directly from what I know, but somebody in your family lineage will have been...
You must have the gift.
Absolutely. The gift of the hand. And that is why not, even if people know which the trees are, they're not allowed to go and harvest, and they're not allowed to actually do this work.
Harriet is the anointed one.
So there is an unspoken and a spoken understanding that you can actually go and do this from the community.
I am allowed to harvest the medicine, to grow the medicine, to harvest the medicine. If you find me in the forest, it's not a problem. But if you find somebody else who doesn't do that kind of work in the forest, it is a problem because of also deforestation, because of theft of indigenous species, because of so many things, biopiracy. So it is very controlled, and I'm really glad that you asked that.
So who do you work with in the community?
In the community?
Forests?
So we have we have practitioners in 3 different places, right? And we work with up to 50 to 100 practitioners. All of them have different formulations that they have presented to us. At the same time, we have what we call a community engagement team. We run community engagement programs. So we have the wider community that we sit with, and we do different things. We do education. As an example, we also work with hospitals. We renovated part of Litain Hospital because we do believe, we want to tell our audience, this is where you go when you have issues. If you're overbleeding and you fainted or you think something is terribly wrong, we are working with a hospital. So we partnered with Litain Hospital for that very reason. Actually, we renovated their OBGYN that is where we are, because this is actually to do with giving birth, and their maternity wing, and their women's surgical ward, and their men's surgical ward, and their women's medical and men's medical ward. A very strong statement saying we are working with hospitals. We work in education. We run education programs for children over the holidays. At the same time, we do various things with people in the community, whether it's paying school fees here or paying a hospital bill here. We're active in the community in a way, saying we are very grateful for what is going on. We want to give back to the community. We pay top dollar for those herbs. We don't scrimp and say this is just 5 bob. So it is quite expensive to purchase them the way we do it. And in that way, we encourage them to keep growing the trees. If you have a tenderweight, you will keep it for posterity, for your children to harvest one day and sell to Harriet's Botanicals. We can't absorb everything now, but we can at least promise you that your pocket won't be empty if you keep the traditional trees that are already on your land.
Who owns the intellectual property?
I do.
Registered?
My company, yes.
Registered in Kenya and registered with
Kenya.
WIPO?
Registered in Kenya.
Okay.
Yes.
Not yet with WIPO original?
Not yet, yes.
So do these people who work with you get royalties?
So the people, yes, the original person who showed me their formula, I mixed 3 formulas and I added my own. They get royalties, right? There's like 3 particular healers who receive money from us all the time. And then we also do white labeling. So for example, this product, Busareg Ablelaitich, is not my formulation.
Say that again?
Busareg Ablelaitich.
Say that again.
Busareg
Like sound of that.
So Busareg means ash. This is how medicine is stored for long periods within the wider Kalenjin. So Lelaitich is where my late mom is from, and this was how I commemorated her. So I own the copyright, I own the trademark, I don't own the formula. Okay. So this we buy direct, from the healer, and he makes it himself, without any interference from us.
And so he has licensed you to sell?
Yes, absolutely.
And that is all documented?
Yes, it is.
Not a couple of years down the road and somebody goes to him and says,
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we're very well known.
Okay. What is Busareg?
Busareg means ash or powder.
Okay.
So Busareg has 20 trees in it. So you see, this way of doing traditional medicine can be devastating to the forest. If we did all this in that same way, we use so much feedstock. So the amount of feedstock that is used to create so little ash, it's like if we did it in powder form or in tablet form, then the forest wouldn't be there, to be honest. And this is the reason the forest is still there, because our ancestors did it in liquid form. So they use a little to produce a lot of liquid.
Yeah.
Okay. What demographic are we talking about in terms of age who are using your product?
Medicine.
I ask this because as time has progressed, we've seen conditions in younger people. If we're going to look at women now, you have girls getting their period at a much younger age than they did 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
You have women going into menopause much younger than they did. So who's consuming this?
So my demographic is anything women between age 22 to age 52. Women, right? Why 22? Because of excessive use of emergency contraception has caused blocked tubes and ectopic pregnancies and multiple miscarriages. I did not even know about this until actually at the beginning of my business. This is the group that grew my business. Young women, newly married, fresh from campus. It was shocking, right? So because I was targeting women in their 40s with fibroids, There's that demographic. There's women who have taken other contraceptives, and then let's say you take Depo, and then after 3 years you're off the Depo, but you're still not getting pregnant. They take my product to wash off residual birth control. There's women who are now experiencing perimenopause as early as 28. Women in their 30s who their periods disappear even for 5 years. So I met one woman in a pharmacy, and she was like, God, I'm using your product because period will disappear when? 26. How old are you now? 36. Never had a period for 10 years. She's like, I don't have any children. You have to help me. My husband is going to leave me. Right? So these are the kind of people who are using, and they're out there, and you'd be shocked. The stories that you hear are indeed so surprising.
I assume that this woman had gone to hospital.
So she had been, she told me, I've given the hospital all my money. Nimeuza shamba, everything. Nothing has worked.
From your interaction with her and interaction with your friendly doctors,
yes,
what causes this?
It's called amenorrhea. Amenorrhea is really an excess of androgens. It's something to do with polycystic ovarian syndrome. The male hormones in your body are too high. And now you find women with beards, women with mustaches, women with body hair, women with chest hair. And it's like they have male pattern baldness as well. Their hair is disappearing. They have, people say, what's going on with you? It's like you're turning into a man.
Yeah.
And they don't ovulate, right? So they don't ovulate, they don't get a period also as well.
And what does your thing do?
So my thing is to reduce the androgens. What we need to do first is take a look at the insulin. Insulin is probably high. These people also usually have, they're also overweight. They struggle with weight and they have hormonal acne. And so what my product does, the first thing is to evacuate insulin, reduce insulin, which is causing excess androgens. And then after that, stimulate fertility, stimulate ovarian reserve, like create an environment for healthy eggs to grow, change the pH balance of the body, induce interest in a different type of food. Most of these people who have PCOS eat a lot of carbs. It's a disease actually of excess carbohydrates. So we are changing like the makeup of the body. We are telling the person, you used to be like this, now you're going to be like this. This medicine is going to make you want to eat more vegetables and maybe drink more water and get healthier generally. At the same time, it's doing something in your reproductive system. It's clearing out all those polycystic ovaries that did not mature. It's cleaning your womb. It's stimulating fertility. It also increases libido, which is something that everybody, talks about chini, but it's a big seller of our product for the women who are menopausal. Then, of course, you talked about these young men now in their 20s who have erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, zero sperm count, low sperm count. Why? Because of our dietary changes, overuse of drugs, and overuse of steroids. So, and also we now have side effects of medication, side effects of allopathic medication creates erectile dysfunction. So the range even for men, strangely enough, is from the 20s all the way up to the 60s. Then we have prostate issues, something called benign prostate hyperplasia. And that is, as you get older as a man, now mkojo is not the way it used to be. You used to aim over there, but now you aim over here.
And now you aim, it just goes.
Yes, exactly. And now maybe you drip, or maybe you're getting up too much in the night to go to the toilet to wee, and it's uncomfortable. And it's just a benign condition that develops with age due to a lack of detox of the bodily functions. With time, that becomes prostate cancer. And as I mentioned, tenduit, Prunus africana, is actually one of the things that is used for chemotherapy medicine in Europe. Places like Cameroon, they are sending a lot of their Prunus africana to Europe for this. And actually, there's a French company that has a patent on tenduit.
Good Lord in heaven. Okay. I want to ask about you. So when you took this, it was the first one, right?
Yes.
You were patient 0, essentially.
Absolutely.
In this thing.
Yes.
Did you ever experience those symptoms again? What happened that changed for you after you took them?
Okay, so I experienced painless period. Initially, I just wanted a painless period. I also experienced libido, increased libido. My whole life changed. My PMS symptoms disappeared forever. I do not experience pain, right? I cannot remember for the last 2 or 3 years what it is to have a painful period.
And you're taking?
I take all my products.
Harriet every day?
Yeah, the one I take the most now is Mosipchot.
Okay.
Because recently I developed joint pain. So I thought, what is this, right? And there was a couple of days I had hot flushes and night sweats. It was nuts. That's how I developed Mosipchot, because they kept telling me, kuna dawa ingine nafanya ina hii, and I didn't believe them. Then I took it myself and I released it into the market. I said, this is amazing. So I don't have joint pain. I don't have the hot flushes. I don't have the night sweats. My libido is high. I don't have PMS. I mean, I just live like the way I'd say most men live all their lives.
It's like 4. Okay, so has anybody ever come to you? You've given them any of these concoctions. Have they told you it does not work?
Yes, absolutely. And this is how we developed these protocols, because we did retraining. People come and say to me, my fibroids were large and I took your medicine, nothing happened. And then I started, this is when I developed, I have a specific protocol for fibroids, right? Others say, nimechukua, niko chupa mbili, but the periods haven't come back. Oh, I took your product I was on and off for 1 year. It was, there's no pain. Because the people come and say to me, yes, definitely my period is painless, no more clots, but I haven't conceived. There are those who say to me, I've taken 1 bottle, sija conceive. Bado sija conceive. When will I conceive? I get this question every single day. When will I conceive? And I don't want to tell people, well, it depends on your
Friday night at 10 p.m.
Absolutely.
How many times should one take? How big is this bottle? 750, 1 liter?
This bottle is 1 liter. It lasts you 21 days.
So 21 days.
45 mLs.
If you're getting into, let's say, you want to conceive.
Yeah.
And you start taking this.
Yeah.
How many times what's the minimum? Are you
45 mLs, first thing in the morning, 3 tablespoons is the minimum.
And then I'll finish it in 21 days.
In 21 days.
And should I come for round 2?
Now, we always say that the minimum is 3. There are people who get pregnant after bottle 1, especially those who only had UTIs or those who had residual birth control.
Okay.
There are people who get pregnant after 6 months. There are people who get pregnant after 2 years.
But you continue taking until you get pregnant?
Absolutely. Continue taking until you achieve the results that you want. It doesn't have to be pregnancy. If you are painless, that is fine. If you stopped bleeding, that is fine. If your period came back and you think this is too expensive or you don't want it anymore, that is absolutely perfect.
When do you know it's not working?
I think if you're frustrated, if you have a goal to say, look, in 3 months I must be pregnant, or I've already waited 2 years. Yeah. And for you, it's like, nilichukua chupa moja, those people are just liars. And they tell me to my face. My first year was rough. My first and second year, I had a rough time online. I mean, people bullied me to death about this. They said, you're a liar, you're a con woman, you're this. This is why we opened up our factory. We opened shops because they said, you're online. How do we know you even exist? I tell them, come to the factory. That's why we opened up our community engagement. Come to the forest. Come and see what is there. Come and meet me at the factory. Now I am at Waterfront. If you want to see me, come. I'm there. And then we just say, this is a doctor. This is a person. We have a big thing around transparency, which I think has taken us a long way.
Something that happens with when people become ill, they start becoming desperate.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
Especially if you go to the formal medical channels.
Absolutely.
And nothing is working.
Yeah.
People get desperate.
That's
why they end up going for prayers. And you find people who are just paying amounts of money because, upanda mbegu ndio upone.
Exactly.
Others go for herbalists.
Yes.
How do you respond to those who look at you and think, you are just sitting at the tail end of waiting for people who are going to be desperate coming to you, and you tell them, use this. And I also have one or two people who can give testimonials that it worked for them.
Yes, the only way is creating more transparency, because I tell them, go to the shops and you're going to meet other people who are using the product. You don't even have to talk to me. You can talk to those people, right? Or come to the factory and take a look, or go to talk to other people, or inbox all these people who are on my page. Because there's a time you put a testimonial and there's 300 likes and there's 20 to 50 comments. I'm like, you can inbox all these people who said it worked for me. Yeah. And it has absolutely nothing to do with me. You can.
It's all organic.
Absolutely. That's what we look for, organic testimonials, right? And at the same time, we have members of staff who also got pregnant, and they come with their babies and they say, this is what happened. I didn't even plan it. I had a UTI and I used this product and it washed out my family planning. And here is baby number 3. Right? So there's a lot of that kind of interaction going on all the time. We run workshops, we run events, we meet people. That is actually, I think, the most we can do. And there are still some who think, definitely, you are a quack.
I'm going to say something. It'll sound sexist and all, but I apologize. There are very many times that you'll see testimonials, particularly from women, who say, I swear this thing worked for me.
Yeah.
What was that thing that PPB warned us about the other day?
The yoni ball.
The yoni balls.
Yoni balls, and also they also had some sweets and
candies,
all, and candies and all.
Yeah, and Chinese.
I went through their page, and there were people who were swearing that these candies were working for them. I took the candy. Oh my goodness! It really, really sorted me out. I did the yoni ball, and my God, it worked.
Sorry,
it was
yoni pearls.
Yeah, yoni pearls. I won. So. That and Harriet's.
Yeah. Show
me the distinction.
So, just to clarify, yoni pearls are parts of Chinese medicine. They are big in Chinese medicine. It's whether we're getting an adulterated form or a fake form of whatever it is, right? Now, the distinction between that and Harriet, I think, is that my journey has been quite public. I go to the media. I write in all the local dailies. I appear in places like this. So I have a bit of a public persona, right? And we've not had any interference from any government agencies. I mean, we're operating in plain sight, right? We're all over Facebook. We're all over social media. You know, there are still some people who are a little bit skeptical. I always say, just try one bottle and you give me some feedback. The same way I brought these freebies, these 20 bottles, and I'm going to say, you take one of these and tell me. You take this and tell me.
Because what's the guarantee that, look, after all, it's an organic, it's a natural product.
Yeah.
The possibility of it hurting you then is diminished.
Yes.
Because it's natural. So you can actually go and try it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That you
yes.
Can,
it's 100% natural.
Will happen to you.
Nothing will happen to you. Literally, you will go to the toilet a little bit more. That is it. It's 100% natural, organic, no chemicals. Absolutely none. Not even a preservative. And that is intentional.
So, out of red, which one is it that you bring?
I brought 10 weight for you.
So what should I take it and then I bring you feedback?
What's your problem?
What should I look out for if I take?
Okay,
if
you
I
should
took
look
10
for
today.
Okay, you should look for increased energy, bursts of energy. Actually, you might find that you only sleep a couple of hours, but you're very energetic. You will feel good, right? Your digestive systems will improve. Your metabolism will improve. You will lose a little bit. You will lose a little bit of weight around your waist. You will trim up. It'll trim you up.
One bottle.
Yes, one bottle. You will be thirsty, very thirsty. You will have increased sleep at the beginning, as it causes what we call a reset. Your libido could get pretty high. Especially our brothers from Western, when they take this, it's nuts.
Literally. No pun intended.
You know?
That pun landed so nicely. Okay. Again, you said you have shops across the country.
I do.
You are licensed.
I am.
By the State Department for
Ministry of Culture. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so if somebody comes and they look at your shop, they'll see some license from the government.
Absolutely.
And
also there's other licenses. There are other licenses in there because you have to get YBAR, you have to get city council licenses, you have to get health and safety for all your employees who handle. Every employee who handles this product must go through a process of training at the city council.
Okay.
So you'll find like 7 licenses in every shop and maybe 10 in the factory.
Wow. So
you obviously have a hope for health.
I do.
In terms of getting people to get away from pain. And isn't that usually what happens? That you have a personal experience and you say, you know what, this it can help me commercially, but it can also help other people because you understand the torture that you must have gone through.
Absolutely. It's horrible when your life is completely debilitated by pain and no one understands what's happening with you. What about the mood swings? When you have these kind of hormonal issues, your mood swings are on another level. You snap at everybody, you're angry. I'm sure people always say, oh, time of the month. Or you can be working in an organization where you're highly competent, but during the time of the month, everybody's like,
become a troll.
Time of the month, exactly. And it's really like, it's stigmatizing as well for many women.
Thank you for joining us today.
Asante sana.
Harriet Chebet is the CEO and founder of Harriet's Botanicals. She has been here. We've been talking about alternative medicine on this Health Friday.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.